we have to sell Graceland. And I just looked at him and I said, that will never happen.
Elvis Presley's attic was opened after 48 years, and who's inside is shocking. For nearly 5 decades, Graceland stood like a monument frozen in time, an eternal tribute to Elvis Presley, the undisputed king of rock and roll. Millions passed through its storied halls, gazing at glittering jumpsuits and laying flowers near his final resting place. But while fans mourned below, something waited above, untouched, locked behind a door in the attic like a ghost from the past. In 2025, that door creaked open for the first time in decades, and what emerged sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned archivists. Buried among dusty memorabilia was something no one expected. Not just lost recordings or forgotten fan mail, but something intimate. Something unsettling. The real mystery isn't just what was found in that attic. It's who, and what it means for the day the music died, August 16, 1977. That morning, Elvis Presley was discovered unresponsive in his private Graceland bathroom, a space he once considered his refuge. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, but hours later, the world received a gut punch. The king was gone at just 42. Doctors initially attributed his death to cardiac arrhythmia, a sudden failure of the heart. But skeptics weren't buying it. Something felt buried, hidden beneath layers of half-truths. The autopsy revealed troubling signs of long-term prescription drug use. Then came a shocker. Dr. Jerry Francisco, who wasn't even part of the forensic team, went public, insisting drugs had nothing to do with Elvis' death. The medical world was stunned. Many saw it as a desperate move to shield a legacy. But truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface. When toxicology results were finally unsealed, the findings were grim. Elvis' body was saturated with powerful substances, Dilaudid, Quaaludes, Percodan, Demerol, codeine, all at levels far beyond medical use. Fans were devastated. How had things spiraled this far? Who allowed it to happen? And if drugs played such a huge role, what secrets were still hiding in the attic, just above the room where Elvis died? One name kept surfacing, the doctor who claimed he was saving him. And then, like a shadow stepping into the spotlight, came Dr. George Nichopoulos, Drive. Nick. From 1975 to 1977, he wrote Elvis over 8,000 prescriptions. Painkillers, tranquilizers, stimulants, you name it, Dr. Nick supplied it. But when confronted, he didn't flinch. He argued he was doing damage control. According to Dr. Nick, Elvis was already in too deep. The only way to keep him from turning to the streets was to regulate his drug use, legally. To him, this wasn't reckless. It was mercy. Incredibly, the jury bought his defense. Dr. Nick walked free, cleared of any criminal role in the death of the king. But the controversy didn't die with the verdict. By 1980, scrutiny returned with a vengeance. Not just for his treatment of Elvis, but for doling out prescriptions to other stars like Jerry Lee Lewis. The backlash grew until 1995, when the Tennessee Board of Medical Examiners made a decisive move. They revoked his license for good, citing a dangerous, long-term pattern of overprescribing. But just when the case seemed closed, a new theory shook the narrative. In 2020, author Sally A. Hodel released Destined to Die Young, a book that flipped the script. Elvis, she argued, didn't die from addiction, he died from genetics. According to Hodel, Elvis wasn't destroying himself, he was fighting to stay alive, battling inherited heart problems and chronic illnesses. His use of prescription drugs. Not indulgence, but desperation. If that's true, what did the Presley family know all along? And what exactly had they locked away in that attic for nearly 50 years? Whatever it was, it had to be something so deeply personal, it couldn't be exposed. Until now, a king's funeral, a house frozen in grief, and a world left reeling. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew. The day after Elvis' death, Memphis turned into a mourning ground. Nearly 100,000 people crowded the gates of Graceland, hoping for one final moment with the man who changed music forever. His body lay in a white suit and powder blue shirt, an image burned into history. On August 18, 1977, the funeral procession began. 17 white Cadillacs glided through the city, a surreal parade honoring royalty. The guest list read like a hall of fame: James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., Caroline Kennedy. His family, Priscilla, Lisa Marie, and Vernon, followed close behind. Elvis was laid to rest beside his mother, Gladys, at Forest Hill Cemetery. But just as peace seemed to return, something disturbing shattered it. 2 days later, in a brazen scheme, a group of men tried to steal his coffin. They failed, caught and charged with trespassing. But the message was chilling. Even in death, Elvis wasn't safe. Vernon Presley, fearing for his son's sanctity, took action. Elvis and Gladys were quietly reinterred. This time, inside the meditation garden at Graceland, Elvis' private haven. The estate tightened its defenses. Doors were locked, rooms were sealed, and one space, above them all, was bolted shut. Why? A coffin theft explains tighter ground security. But why barricade the attic, far from the graves? What was hiding up there? So secret, so powerful, it demanded silence for half a century. The legend of Graceland only deepened. In 1957, a 22-year-old Elvis, already skyrocketing to fame, made a historic purchase. A sprawling mansion just outside Memphis. The price? $12,500. Today, that's nearly $1 million. But the home already had a name. Graceland. Elvis didn't rename it, he embraced it. It became more than a home. It was his sanctuary, his palace, his private stage. The estate had everything. Expansive barns, rolling pastures, and even a prank-loving pet chimp named Scatter. Elvis dressed him in tiny outfits and pulled off stunts that left guests wondering if the real showman wasn't the man, but the monkey. In 1964, Elvis crafted one of the estate's most peaceful spaces, the meditation garden. Adorned with flowers, fountains, and white pillars, it became his place of quiet reflection, a space to escape the chaos and the crown. That garden would eventually become his final resting place. But the mystery didn't end in the garden. After Elvis died in 1977, the entire second floor of Graceland, including the bathroom where he was found, was sealed shut. Even when Graceland opened to the public in 1982, that upper level remained strictly off-limits. Not even presidents or dignitaries were allowed beyond the stairs. And hidden even deeper than the second floor was what loomed directly above it. The attic. No photos. No details. Just silence. What was it about the attic that made even Elvis' closest family act like it never existed? And why, after nearly 5 decades, is it being opened now? One legal twist almost made sure it never happened. But it did, and now, the world is seeing an Elvis few ever imagined. In 2024, Elvis fans and the city of Memphis were rocked by a shocking announcement. A mysterious company, Nossen Investments and Private Lending LLC, claimed Riley Keough, Elvis' granddaughter, had defaulted on a loan. They tried to auction off Graceland. It sounded impossible. How could America's most iconic musical landmark be on the chopping block? As trustee of the Promenade Trust, Riley acted fast. She filed a lawsuit, accusing Nossen of fraud and forging documents in a scheme to steal a legacy. The clock was ticking. With just 1 day left before the auction, a Tennessee judge stepped in. He blocked the sale, calling Graceland a unique cultural treasure, warning that its loss would cause irreversible harm. In a strange twist, no one from Nossen, or Riley's own legal team, showed up in court. The ruling held. Graceland was safe. But the scare left an eerie thought. What if the court hadn't acted? What if a private buyer had taken control and opened the attic, exposing secrets the Presley family protected for decades? In 2025, that fear became a reality. After nearly 50 years, the attic door at Graceland creaked open. There was no media frenzy. Just quiet footsteps entering a forgotten room, untouched since 1977. What archivists found inside was staggering. Dust-covered boxes lined the walls, filled with artifacts frozen in time. Handwritten lyrics scrawled on napkins and torn notebook pages. Rare photos capturing Elvis in moments of solitude. Private letters, some filled with longing, others with heartbreak. Unopened fan mail that had waited half a century to be read. Childhood toys. Stage outfits. Echoes of a boy who became a king. And then, one leather jacket caught their eye. Inside its pocket was a folded note. Wear this when you need to disappear. It was cryptic, personal, a whisper from a man who may have been looking for a way out of the spotlight. But that wasn't the most haunting discovery. Because what they found next didn't just belong in a museum, it had the power to reshape history. Hidden among the artifacts was a small, dusty box marked in fading ink. Practice Sessions, 1976. Inside were reel-to-reel tapes that hadn't been played in almost 50 years. When they were, the room fell silent. These weren't polished studio tracks or commercial takes. They were raw, private. Elvis, alone, working through gospel hymns, gritty blues riffs, even early synth melodies that hinted at a creative path he never lived to pursue. But one tape rose above the rest. A stripped-down, achingly vulnerable version of Unchained Melody. No band, no backup singers, just Elvis' voice, trembling, cracking, full of pain. It wasn't just a performance. It was a farewell letter. a confession wrapped in melody, a farewell wrapped in heartbreak. And that was just one box. Others overflowed with unopened fan letters, still sealed in their original envelopes. Some came from soldiers stationed overseas, others from grieving families, aspiring musicians, or lifelong admirers. One letter stood out, a desperate plea from fans in 1976, begging him to cancel his tour to save his health. But did he ever read it? Or was it quietly placed in the attic, buried like the warning signs no one wanted to see? A boy named Elvis, a man trapped in a legend. The deeper archivists dug, the more they uncovered who he truly was. Not the icon, but the individual. Tucked between rhinestone jumpsuits and dusty audio gear were items never meant for museum displays. There it was, a frayed teddy bear from his Tupelo childhood. A Bible once held by his mother, its pages folded and bookmarked with love. And a high school yearbook, scribbled with notes and doodles from classmates who knew him before he was the king. These weren't memorabilia, they were pieces of a private life, kept not for the spotlight, but for solace. Lisa Marie Presley once said, "I can come here any time and rummage through the boxes." That simple statement revealed something profound. This wasn't just an attic. It was sacred space. A place where the Father, the Son, the man, not the myth, still lived quietly among paper and cloth. And through those forgotten items, something happens. The Elvis we've worshipped, the superstar, the showman, fades. And in his place stands someone more fragile, more human. The question now is, can the world ever see Elvis the same way again? Did Elvis really leave the building? You know, it's funny. I can't see you really. I can only see like the first row here. From the moment his death was announced in 1977, the world resisted believing it. Conspiracy theories ignited like wildfire. Some claimed they saw him the next day at Memphis International Airport under the alias John Burroughs, a name linked to Elvis himself. Others swore he was spotted grabbing a bite at a Burger King in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Then came the books, Orion, a story mirroring his life but ending in a fake death, and Is Elvis Alive?, which fueled belief he had gone underground to escape fame. Then came the tapes. Strange voice recordings surfaced, hauntingly similar to Elvis, singing, talking, explaining his disappearance. Most were debunked, impersonators, hoaxers, but still, the belief lingered. Even today, theories go viral claiming he lives as Preacher Bob Joyce, despite glaring differences. For many, the fantasy that Elvis escaped is easier to accept than the reality, that even kings can fall. And now, with the attic finally opened, fans feel something different. Not closure, exactly, something closer to connection. The letters, the photos, the confessions in song, they don't just fill in gaps. They open new ones. Because if something so intimate remained hidden for nearly 50 years, what else is still out there, waiting in the shadows of Elvis' unfinished story? The man, the myth, the music. Elvis Presley was more than an entertainer, he was an era. He holds more AAA gold and platinum records than any other artist. He sold over 500 million albums, lit up movie screens, carried the crown of rock and roll, and the burden that came with it. In 2018, he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Yet here we are, in 2025, still uncovering the pieces of a man we thought we already knew, from forgotten fan letters, hidden rehearsal tapes, a teddy bear from Tupelo, and an attic that held not just memorabilia, but the soul of a legend. What other secrets still linger in the shadows of Graceland? Were you surprised by what they found in Elvis Presley's attic? Which item gave you chills? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the next video for more astonishing stories from the world of music history.